Sorry for that interruption. The waves will have travelled the same distance, and so they arrive in phase. Now that's important that they arrive in phase, because that means then when they arrive there, they will superpose constructively. So we'll arrive in phase and superpose or interfere constructively. Okay. Producing a bright fringe. And that's why we get a central bright fringe. Then what we're looking at is at other points on the screen, well, at other points on the screen, the waves travel different distances. Okay, so in the center they travel the same distance, they arrive in phase. At other points on the screen, the waves have travelled different distances, and therefore at some places they will be, or they will arrive out of phase, and where that happens we get destructive superposition, or interference. So destructive interference occurs, and a dark fringe forms. Then at other places the waves arrive in phase again, and another bright fringe forms. And this pattern repeats, and it repeats on either side of the central bright fringe. Okay, so if you're looking at that, we've got that the light waves from the double slit meet, so we've got this idea that the light waves meet. Okay, so we're looking for a mark for the light waves meet on the screen. They will travel the same distance, okay, so they've equidistance and have arrived in phase. Okay, now that's the idea of path difference and phase difference. So they've traveled the same distance, so there's no path difference, they arrive in phase. They superpose constructively and produce a bright fringe. Then at other points in the screen, waves have travelled different distances, so that's a different distance, and at some places they then arrive out of phase, so they give a dark fringe, and that other place the waves arrive in phase again, and the pattern repeats. So we now have our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 marks in there. And for quality of written communication, hopefully we'd get our 1 mark there, as long as our spelling, punctuation, grammar is all correct. There are probably 7 points in there in terms of the waves from the slits come together being 1 point. At the center of the pattern, the waves travel the same distance. The 2nd point, they arrive in phase and produce a bright fringe. For the 3rd point, elsewhere they travel different distances. For the 4th point, in some phases they arrive out of phase. For the 5th point, at other phases they arrive in phase again. For the 6th point, and I suppose what I haven't said there is that the waves start in phase because we've got coherent sources, so the slits act as coherent sources, and that might be worth just noting down. So from the double slits, right, at that point there you could say which act as coherent sources. Now remember, coherent sources, very important for interference. Coherent sources are sources which are phase linked and have the same frequency, or essentially in phase and have the same frequency.